Straighten it all the way out front. Then we'll separate the feet, coming into a nice wide leg seated pose. Rolling yourself forward on the pelvis. If you need the blanket, this is a really good place to use the blanket. Propping your sitting bones right on the end, and then you'll see how much more mobility you get in your hips. You can roll the pelvis forward and maintain that nice long belly. So we'll start out taking an inhale. Look down at the feet. Make sure that the kneecaps and the second toe are lined up and the toes are actively reaching up toward the ceiling. We'll use our exhale to walk out just to the point where you can maintain a straight back. You're going to feel that as you work with the breath, you're going to be able to come a little deeper. Just trying to feel that movement forward originating from the hips. Taking one more exhale. On your inhale, walk yourself back up to sitting. Now draw the soles of the feet in. I'm going to slide my blanket out, and then we're going to come into a blossoming lotus pose. You're going to take your feet out to the edges of your mat, toes angled out to the side, roll your knees out. You can start out by holding onto the ankles or the calves wherever you can reach, and using the elbows to just gently nudge the knees out to the side. You're actually not pressing on the knee joint, you're just above the knee on the inner thigh. Take an inhale, lift your chest up. And then adding an opening here. I'm going to take my right hand, place it underneath the right leg. And then inhale, open the left arm back. Trying to maintain that opening in the hips here. If it feels okay in your neck, turn, look at the left fingertips. And take an inhale, come back to center. I'm going to place the left hand underneath my left leg. Inhale, open the right arm back. One more inhale, opening from the chest. And back into center. Now let's use the hands, draw the legs together. We'll roll the legs off to one side. Move on to hands and knees. I'm going to show you a different transition to get into our Gomukhasana legs. But we'll start out first just by kind of warming up the hips, loosening them a bit by rocking side to side. And as you go side to side, you can look back at that foot, center, and then over to the other side, looking back at your foot. You can sink some of your body weight into the hip that you're stretching. Let's take an inhale, come back through center. Now making our way back into Gomukhasana, this is our last hip opener, and I saved it for last because it is so intense. We're going to take the right knee, cross it behind the left leg. And this is a pose that takes a little bit of fidgeting to get yourself comfortable in. So get the legs kind of nestled together and then sit back onto your hips. You're going to pull the feet out to the sides until you feel like the bottom of the pelvis is resting down on the floor. This is a really good time to make use of your blanket if your hips are tight. So fidget around, get your legs comfortable. The idea is that you're trying to stack the knees directly on top of each other. But more importantly, you want to feel that the pelvis is flat. So if your left side of the pelvis is lifting up off the floor, that's your sign that you want to slide a blanket underneath there and get even contact. So now let's take our inhale, lengthen, coming up, sitting nice and straight. You might have a really intense stretch here already. A lot of hip rotation going on. If you need to go deeper, take your exhale, flat back, walk yourself forward. And check in with your knees, always making sure that the knees are happy. No sensation within the knee joint is good. Let's take one more deep breath here. Use your inhale to walk yourself back up through sitting. We're going to roll forward, come out of the pose, come over to the other side. Uncross your right leg. Find yourself back in a table position. Then we're going to take the left knee, cross it behind the right leg. Spread the feet out to the side. Then use your exhale, walk yourself back. Try to sit the hips right in between the feet. Make any little adjustments that you need to. So you're going to find that one hip is probably a little bit tighter than the other hip. So just noticing which is your tighter side. And if you're doing a class, we always like to do the same amount of time in each stretch. But if you're doing your practice at home and you know that you have one side that's a little bit tighter than the other side, it's your practice at home, so feel free to spend more time on that tight side. The idea is that we want to bring both hips into balance. We want the same level of flexibility in your left hip and your right hip. Same thing goes for the shoulders. A lot of us have one shoulder that's tighter than the other. So you might want to spend a little more time on your tight side. We'll take our exhale. If it's available to you, you can walk yourself into a little forward bend. Trying to keep focus on the breath here. Feeling all those intense sensations in the hips and just trying to be okay with them. And being aware of the difference between intense stretching or that deep stretching feeling and pain. So we never want to push ourselves to the point of pain. But one of the challenges that we focus on in our yoga practice is being okay with intense sensation, intense opening, when we know that it's safe. Taking your inhale, walking yourself up. We'll roll forward, uncrossing the left knee, finding yourself back in your table. And that is the end of our seated hip opening sequence. I hope that helps. If you want to continue with your hip opening practice, you can check out my other videos for a prone hip opening sequence or maybe some standing poses that also work on hip opening. Namaste.